Good evening, everyone. I want to thank you for joining the Waypoint Weekly yet again. I appreciate all of you for coming out on yet another journey with us together. Today's topic is a little bit different. It's more about being courageous and just taking risk and opportunities. And today's lesson is about standing on the bow. We'll dig deeper into what that really truly means and how it applies to you in the field of education or how it could apply if you are a parent educating your own children at home. So let's just jump right into it and set sail. So, first of all, I want to acknowledge that too many educators spend their careers standing safely in the middle of the ship. Now, you may not know what that means, but the middle of the ship is comfortable, it's easy, right? The educators who grow and impact students and rediscover their passion are willing to occasionally step onto the bow, that frontmost part of the ship. Now, I'm not talking about recklessly. I'm not talking about without purpose, but they're doing so with courage. And this session is about taking those intentional risks and trying new ideas, trusting your instincts, and remembering that even small actions can create meaningful impact for both you and your students. So let's continue. I want to do a quick pulse check before we dive right into all the content. Now, imagine that it's August. I know this is corny, but I'm just going to ask you to close your eyes and imagine with me. Imagine this is August and you've made meaningful impact and progress the whole year before, and you're ready to get the next year started. I want you to think about whether you've made meaningful progress in one area of your practice over the summer. You can choose any area that you feel like you've actually grown. I want you to ask yourself these questions. Which area would create the biggest positive impact for both you and your students that we have on the screen? I want you to think about that. So we got a couple of different areas, whether it's your instruction, your student engagement, your data, your work-life balance, technology even. Um, Maybe it's just your classroom systems overall. What could you improve? I see a couple of different things coming in the chat, a couple of different answers. And I don't want to read them all out loud because they're personal to you. But I do want you to pause and notice something important. None of these options are wrong. None of them. No matter what you picked, what area you chose, every opportunity is an opportunity for growth. And that's what this community is all about, us coming together as a team of educators and growing together. Every educator on this call is navigating different waters. The goal isn't to improve everything at once. The goal is to identify the next waypoint, one waypoint at a time on your journey, and move toward it intentionally. So let's work on that together. Now, looking at this graphic here, I want to be honest with you. I know that many of us have seen the movie Titanic, and I'm going to be honest. I'm upset with Rose because if you ask me, there was room on that doorknob for Jack, but that's neither here nor there. We're going to focus on the scene where Jack takes Rose to the front of the boat, to the bow. Many of us remember this, one of the most iconic scenes in this movie's history. Like, Rose comes, she stands on the bow of the Titanic with the wind in her face and the horizon stretching endlessly ahead. It's a powerful moment. Jack takes Rose to the front of the ship and he tells her to hold out her arms, to let go, to trust, to feel alive. Now, let's be clear. I'm not suggesting anyone goes into their living room, climb up on the furniture, and reenact Titanic right now. Please don't do that. Our insurance can't cover it, for one. But I do think educators can learn something from that moment. Here's what I want you to notice. Nothing about that ship changed. Not one thing. about that ship changed. The ocean didn't change. The destination of where they were going didn't change. The weather didn't even change. What actually changed was Rose. Rose changed. She moved from fear to courage, from obligation to possibility, from living someone else's expectations to discovering her own voice. And that often is how growth works, right? The breakthrough isn't found in changing your environment all the time. Sometimes the true breakthrough happens when you change your perspective. I want you to show me some reactions in the chat if you're ready to change some of your perspective and get ready to have your breakthrough. Give me a thumbs up, a heart in the chat, something to let me know that you're ready to take this journey. All right, I see it coming in. Awesome. Awesome. So here's my question for you. Where are you on the boat right now? So we look at education as 3 different levels of the boat: below deck, middle of the ship, or the bow, the area of growth. Now, as I'm going through the rest of it, I want you to drop a boat in the chat if you've ever kept doing something simply because it's familiar. Because most educators don't stay stuck because they lack talent. They stay stuck because the middle of the ship feels safe. The middle is predictable. It's familiar. The middle doesn't require any risk. We know what to expect there. And sometimes educators stay there too long. We use the same lesson, the same strategy, the same communication method, same routines, not because they're the best, but because they're familiar to us and we're used to doing them. But growth doesn't move that way. Growth happens when we move from the middle of the ship to the bow, to the front. When we become willing to try something different. When we stop asking ourselves, will this work perfectly? And start asking what might be possible. Growth often requires stepping beyond what feels comfortable. And I know for me as a type A person, a type A teacher, this was hard. It was a hard lesson for me to understand. I got comfortable for a while just doing what I've always done because I knew it worked. And I was afraid and scared to take a risk. But I wasn't growing. I wasn't developing. And because I wasn't doing that, I wasn't creating the positive impact for my students that they need. So again, give me a thumbs up, a heart, a boat if you can find it on your emoji list. If you've ever done something or kept doing the same thing simply because it was familiar to you. Okay. I see you. I see you. Thank you, Charmin. All right. So how do you get out of that? That's what we're going to discuss today. I am going to share a moment with you. Look, you see me up there. I'm so adorable. I was an adorable little kid. What's not? But I want to share this story with you because it's important to my transition as an educator into where I am now. If you are an anime or a comic fan, it was my origin story of sorts. So this was my first bow moment. I'm going to tell you a story that many people, if you know me or you know my family, you've heard this story before. But for the newbies, please grab onto your seats. When I was growing up, my mother, as you can see at the bottom, Stacy, and my grandmother, who we all call Mimi lovingly, were constantly putting me in situations where I had to speak. It didn't matter whether it was a church play, a school play, morning announcements, Model UN, mock trial, debate, drama team. If there was a microphone involved, somehow it found me. Now, the funny thing is, I didn't understand why at the time. I didn't know why they kept doing this to me. I didn't want to do it, but they insisted that I was engaging in public speaking all the time. But I didn't see in myself what they saw in me. So when I was about 8 years old, my mom signed me up to give the welcome at our church. Of course, I did not want to do it. I fussed and I cried, and I was adamant about the fact that I shouldn't have to. I was terrified. And for days, they had me practicing, writing scripts, making index cards, memorizing exactly what I was supposed to say, exactly what was expected. Everybody was trying to help me succeed, but something felt off. It didn't feel like me. I knew the words, but they didn't feel like my words. So finally, the day comes. I walk in front of my church. The pews are packed. My hands are shaking. And I start reading the index cards, nervously, of course. Then I stop because it didn't feel right. It just didn't feel like me. And I looked out at that congregation and I said, I know what I'm supposed to say, but I'm just going to speak from my heart. Then I held up those index cards and I ripped them up into pieces in front of the entire church. Now, something amazing happened in that moment. The crowd cheered. I welcomed the congregation, not from a script, not from a card, not from anybody else's words, but from my heart. People laughed, they cheered, they connected with one another. The room literally came alive. Now, as an adult, I understand what my mother and my grandmother were doing, but I didn't understand it then. They were encouraging me to grow, to trust my stuff, to step onto the bow. Now, they probably did not appreciate the dramatic destruction of their hard work in public, but needless to say, the mission was accomplished. I'm here now, right? Before you all. I want to apply this to education in a sense, especially with new teachers, new educators. We're often getting pre-made lesson plans, pre-made slides, comments for our report cards that are already detailed and written out for us. And there's nothing wrong with having that blueprint. But at the end of the day, if you truly want to grow, you have to be courageous enough to make it your own. Now, I've got a question for you. How many times have you ignored your own idea because someone else's seemed better? Now, this might have been in your professional life in the classroom. It might be in your professional life, in your own personal business, or in your own life, whether you're in the educational field or not. Have you ever ignored your own idea because someone else's seemed better? Let me see something in the chat. Give me a 1 in the chat if you've done this before, if you felt this way before. Way too many times. All right, I see you. I mean, too many educators spend their entire careers teaching from someone else's index cards, someone else's lesson plan, someone else's strategy, someone else's voice, someone else's vision, especially new teachers. Even more so for teachers coming in through an alternative pathway, whether they've been hired through like an I Teach program or are currently in a role where they have to gain their certification while they teach. Frankly, any teacher who's afraid of getting anything wrong. Yes, learn from others, absolutely. Borrow ideas, absolutely. But eventually, you must trust your own voice. You must trust yourself and your own ideas. The door can't open for you if you don't step through it. You can't fully set sail if you don't lift the sail to catch the wind. You have to be your own person. Now, what does that mean in a sense? Standing on the bow. This is the hard part for a lot of us. We think that standing on the bow, taking a risk is going to mean starting over. It doesn't have to. This is where many educators get stuck. They believe innovation means starting completely over from scratch, a new curriculum, a new system, a completely different approach. But that's not how meaningful growth happens. Our program, Wayfinder, teaches something different. Small moves, big gains. Real transformation rarely comes from rebuilding the entire ship. It comes from intentional course corrections. Maybe this year you improve one lesson. Maybe this year you make one more video, whether it's for your professional career or to help guide your students on a lesson. Maybe it's one routine that creates daily frustration that you want to adjust. Maybe it's a parent communication system that can reduce overwhelm for you, or a grading process that reduces overwhelm. You're just picking one course correction. Because when a ship changes course by even 1 degree, the destination changes dramatically over time. The same is true for education. You don't have to rebuild the whole ship. You don't have to become something completely different. You don't have to throw away everything that's already working. You simply need the courage to improve one part of your journey, just one. And that's what it means to stand on the bow, not starting over, but moving forward with purpose. Let me see some twos in the chat, some celebrations if you are ready to move forward with purpose, because that's the ultimate goal here. Moving forward with purpose in any facet in your life, whether it's educational or personal. I know that's right. Yes, I see it. I see the celebrations in the chat. If you're ready to move forward with purpose, let me see those celebrations and claps and hearts keep coming on in. So I'm going to ask you one question. What is one system in your life right now that deserves an upgrade before next school year? Or if you're not an actual educator and you're here to support one in your personal life, drop that in the chat, if you will. What is one system in your life that deserves an upgrade before next school year? Now, if there's anyone on the call that wants to be brave and share their one system that deserves an upgrade, please come off mute, do so, raise your hand, let me know. Okay, I see someone say work-life balance is great. Organizational skills, absolutely. I love that. I love that. Now, you might be thinking, how do I make these changes with a community that supports you? One of the biggest things about my Wayfinder system is that we believe in community and helping each other. We're stronger together. Now, before I go on to the next topic, I want you to look at this image here and somebody let me know what you think this story might be about before I tell you what it is. It's the starfish impact. Does anybody have an idea what they think this story might be about? You can drop it in the chat or come off. Or if you're like, I completely don't know, you can let me know that too. Okay, I see it. Like, I have no idea. Okay, that's cool. That's what I'm here for. I don't know. I understand. All right. So here's the story. It's more of a life lesson type of story. So a young boy is walking along the beach, and it is covered with thousands. Oh, I saw that, Charmin. One child at a time. I like that. That's close. A young boy is walking along a beach covered with thousands of stranded starfish. One by one, he tosses them back into the ocean. A man approached him and said, "There are too many. You'll never make a difference." The boy picked up another starfish, threw it into the water, and replied, "Well, I made a difference to that one." I want you to think about education in this way. You don't always have to impact thousands. You impact one student at a time. Remember this. As educators, we often focus on the students we could not reach, the problems we could not solve, the things we can't control, really. But impact is rarely measured in thousands. It's measured one student at a time, one change at a time. If you're starting to feel that and you're starting to understand that, let me know in the chat. Small moves, big gains. See, Simon, you were close. One child at a time. Look at my star student right there. Okay. Now it's time for you to make your commitment, your bow moment. This is going to require some actual participation on your part. So be prepared to start chiming in and type the things in the chat. Standing on the bow isn't about being reckless. I want you to remember that. It's about being courageous. It's choosing possibility over fear, growth over comfort, progress over perfection. That was my hardest one. Progress over perfection. Innovation over stagnation. The question isn't what should everyone else do next year? The question is, what is my personal bow moment? So I want you to take some time. I'm going to give you about 60 seconds to drop something in the chat. Your reflection activity. This year, I am stepping onto the bow by, and you're going to finish it because, and give your reason. So this year, I am going to step on the bow by. What are you going to do, and why are you going to do it? So go ahead and share that in the chat and give you about 60 seconds to think it through. When you're done, give me a thumbs up to let me know you have your bow moment statement. See a couple of people in here that are in the business field, the business and education as well. So I want to make sure that you have what you're going to overcome this season with us. All right, I see some things coming in. Some people said I'm going to step onto the bow by focusing on possibility over fear, because that's important. Absolutely. I see someone saying I'm going to step onto the bow by engaging and focusing on my time management. I love it. Each thing that you put in that chat, each statement that you made, each statement that you gave or reason to step onto the bow is important. And I want to make sure you leave with that. I want to make sure that you have the opportunity to understand that by voicing it, you've already stepped forward to the bow. You've already taken that first step to the front of the ship. I want you to look at this beautiful horizon right now. I keep showing you a horizon and this view of the boat for a reason. I need you to notice something. The ocean isn't asking you to be perfect. The ocean isn't asking you to have every answer. I know your students might sometimes, but the environment is not. The ocean isn't asking you to rebuild the entire ship. It's simply asking you to take the next step. Throughout our time together tonight, we've talked about courage. We've talked about trusting your voice. We've talked about tearing up the scripts that no longer serve you. We've talked about small moves that will create big gains for you. And we've even talked about the power of changing one life at a time. Now it comes down to one question. What will you do with what you've learned? Because honestly, inspiration is wonderful. That's what I'm here for, to inspire you and to help you. But action changes direction. Action is what really moves the needle. The educators who grow aren't always the most talented. They aren't always the most experienced. They're the ones that are willing to take one courageous step forward, one new strategy, one improved system, one idea that they've had that they've been afraid to try, one act of courage, one single act of courage. That's what standing on the bow really means. Not having it all figured out, just being willing to move forward anyway. The bow is waiting just for you. The opportunity is waiting just for you. Your next level is waiting. The only thing left is your decision. If you're ready to trust your own voice, if you're ready to take one courageous step forward, type bow in the chat with me so I can know that you're ready to set sail alongside us. Officially from me, welcome aboard, Wayfinders. The view is different from up here. Thank you for joining us for this lesson. If there are any huge gains that you've made in this season in the last week, I want to always take the time to give all of our crew a chance to celebrate together. So if there's something that happened that was huge in your life and you want to share it with the group, please feel free to come off of mute and say that to us. Or if you want just some overall support, or you have a question and you need a course correction, like what's challenging you in your field right now, or what are you considering, what risk are you considering taking? This is our time to come together as a community and share with each other. Is everybody on the call good to go? Nobody wants to share? Give me a thumbs up and we can go ahead and wrap it up. If not, all right. I see you in the chat, Tony. Bow. I love it. All right. Well, thank you for joining us. Thank you for coming on the call today. Hopefully, I will see you on the next Waypoint Weekly next Tuesday from 5:30 to 6:30. Every Tuesday from 5:30 to 6:30. I'll see you again soon. Bye.